No genre has influenced the public's perception of criminals more than gangster movies. For more than 80 years, the best gangster movies have fascinated and allured the minds of millions, from Prohibition-era pre-court crime to 21st century gang life. Our list of 30 best gangster movies of all time includes films that span the globe and were produced in different time periods with very different budgets. Whether sensational like Palma's Scarface or grounded like Singleton's Boyz and Hollywood, audiences have grown to see gangsters in new ways. But their binding similarity is that they are each responsible for shaping the public's view of gangsters.
When I was your age, they would say we could become cops or criminals. What I'm saying is this. When you're facing a loaded gun, what's the difference?
Welcome to Cinematic. This video is about the top 30 best gangster movies of all time. Before I start, I request you to subscribe to Cinematic, like and share this video, and stay tuned with us. Also, follow our page on Instagram @Cinematic3 and on Twitter, The Cinematic3. Let's start. On number 30, American Gangster in 2007.
Here's a jar right here, 20%.
Oh, you got the jar?
That's right.
Get the fuck out of here, Frank. Oh, what you gonna do? What the fuck you gonna do, Frank? Huh? What you doing? You gonna shoot me in front of everybody? Huh? Come on.
The plot of the film takes place mostly in the 1960s, which gives American Gangster the unique perspective of being able to look back at 20th century crime from the present. The result is a blockbuster film somewhere between popcorn filler and violent think piece. On number 29, King of New York in 1990.
Expected to get away with killing all these people?
I never killed anybody that didn't deserve it.
Frank White is a free man.
How come you never came to see me? Who wanted to see you in a cage, man?
King of New York is a film that fits into the stylistic tone of other New York City underworld movies, Escape from New York and Good Time. The use of color like neon deep blues gives this subgenre an interesting visual tone. On number 28, The Friends of Eddie Coyle in 1973.
I'll be right there with the money, same place where we were before. I'll be there with the money, you be there with those damn guns, because if you ain't, I'll be looking for you and I'll find you too.
Boston has a unique perspective within gangster movies because of the city's long history with Irish, Italian, and African American gangs. It is one of the first great Boston mob films. On number 27, Killing Them Softly in 2012.
They just want you to talk to them.
Hey, what's going on? Hey!
Talk to them. Show them around a little. Don't hurt them too badly, because they don't want them hurt.
The most modern gangster film on this list, Killing Them Softly, addresses the impact of organized crime on American society after the collapse of the housing market. On number 26, The Untouchables in 1987.
But I get nowhere unless the team wins.
Team.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The Untouchables is one of the most iconic gangster films ever made. The Untouchables is a Prohibition-era crime film that mixes police procedural and a thriller to a satisfying degree. On number 25, The Killing in 1956.
You know, Faye, the biggest mistake I made before was shooting for peanuts. 5 years have taught me one thing, if nothing else. Anytime you take a chance, you better be sure the rewards are worth the risk, because they can put you away just as fast for a $10 heist as they can for a $1 million job.
There are heist movies and there are gangster movies. And then there's Stanley Kubrick's The Killing. Kubrick's third film, The Killing, has given enormous inspiration to the likes of Reservoir Dogs, The Usual Suspects, and Logan Lucky. On number 24, Mafioso in 1962. Mafioso is the film that kick-started the American fascination with mafia movies. Alberto Sordi delivers an incredible performance that balances comedy and tragedy effortlessly. On number 23, Scarface in 1983.
This country, you gotta make the money first. Then when you get the money, you get the power. Then when you get the power, then you get the woman.
Brian De Palma's remake of the 1932 film of the same name is bigger, bolder, and better. Pacino turns in an over-the-top performance in all the right ways. The 1983 Scarface was also significant for its style. On number 22, Menace to Society in 1993.
I don't want any trouble. Just get out.
Can't stand y'all.
I feel sorry for your mother.
What you say about my mama? You feel sorry for who?
I don't want any trouble. Just get out.
What the fuck you say about my mama?
I don't want any trouble.
Menace to Society is one of the great Los Angeles gangster movies. Released just 1 year after the 92 LA riots, Menace to Society spoke sympathy to some and stoked the fire for others. On number 21, Mean Streets in 1973. The film takes place in Little Italy, New York, and puts Scorsese's experiences in the neighborhood front and center. There's mafia, police corruption, and crime in spades. What more would one expect from a Scorsese gangster picture? On number 20, Donnie Brasco in 1997.
You think I'm a fucking rat?
How many times I have you into my own house?
Twice a week at least.
Donnie Brasco is a good mafia movie elevated by extraordinary performances from Johnny Depp and Al Pacino. It tells the story of mafia crime in the 1970s from two perspectives, the FBI and the mob. On number 19, Snatch in 2001. Much of the movie is about the different sections of British gang, pickies, bookies, and London crooks. There's even an element of international gang commentary between Irish and British. This is all packed into 100 minutes of violent crime and rollicking fun. On number 18, The General in 1998. This is an authentic Irish film that portrays authentic Irish crime, such as the crimes of the Catholic Church and the corruption of the police. Cahill is a real Irish gangster played by a real Irish actor. On number 17, The Harder They Come in 1972. The Harder They Come is perhaps best known for its infectious reggae soundtrack, which holds its own against the best movie songs. On number 16, Angels with Dirty Faces in 1938. The film condemns the gangster lifestyle even more than before. This is also one of the first gangster films to heavily involve the Catholic faith, which would go on to become a major characteristic of mafia films. On number 15, The Departed in 2006.
Cranberry juice.
It's a natural diuretic. My girlfriend drinks it when she's got her period. What, do you get your period?
In some ways, The Departed is antithesis of The Friends of Eddie Cole. Whereas the former is loud, explosive, and consequential, the latter is quiet, understated, and contextual. The Departed is one of the great gangster movies of all time. It just doesn't say much beyond its subject matter. On number 14, The Long Good Friday in 1980. The Long Good Friday is the quintessential British gangster film. The Long Good Friday is also significant because of its detailed recreation of Cockney crime. On number 13, Boyz and the Hood in 1991. Boyz and the Hood is a cautionary tale about the gangster lifestyle and how even if you don't choose it, it might choose you depending on who you are and where you live. On number 12, Miller's Crossing in 1990. Miller's Crossing is a phenomenal Prohibition-era crime movie. What does crime do to a man? Does it strip him of his morals or humanity or make him more of who he always was? These are the questions that Miller's Crossing explores across a thrilling backdrop of Irish and Italian gangs. On number 11, Touch of Evil in 1958. Despite the artist's production, Touch of Evil emerged as the seminal gangster film about the corruption of the drug trade on the US-Mexico border. On number 10, The French Connection in 1971. The story is unique within the gangster genre because it's told from the perspective of the cops, who solve the gang case one clue at a time. Still, I consider The French Connection a gangster movie although it's told from the other side. On number 9, GOMORRAH in 2008. GOMORRAH, which is based on a book of the same name about the real mafia group from Napoli, has no intent of glamorizing gang life. In fact, GOMORRAH is an indictment of gangster films that have inspired young people to take up a life of crime. On number 8, A Prophet in 2009. This is a film that has roots in older gangster films like The French Connection and The Godfather. Similar themes arise but are shown in unique lights. On number 7, City of God in 2002. We've explored gangster movies from the perspective of the criminal, the cop, and the bystander. But what about a gangster movie from the perspective of someone documenting it? The whole film has a documentary style feel to it, while very much still being a thriller. On number 6, Eastern Promises in 2007. Eastern Promises is the definitive Russian mob movie and one of the Mortenson's best performances ever. On number 5, The Public Enemy in 1931. This was an era of fundamental transition for the American people. The wealth and grandeur that pushed the 1920s through exhausted itself entirely for the decade to come. The Great Depression was a time of intense strife and complex moral decisions. The Public Enemy put these issues center stage while telling one of the first large-scope stories of gangsters in cinema history. On number 4, Once Upon a Time in America in 1984. It's a decades-spanning story of friendship and loyalty in the mob in New York City. De Niro gives one of the best performances of his career as conflicted, opium-sick and mobster dreamer. Some of the content is extremely heavy and pushes the boundary, even for a gangster film. But when all is said and done, the full cut of Once Upon a Time in America is one of the top 5 best gangster movies of all time. On number 3, The Godfather in 1972.
That's a terrific story. We have newspaper people on the payroll, don't we, Tom? They might like a story like that.
They might. They just might.
It's not personal, Sonny. It's strictly business.
Saying something against The Godfather is like complaining about winning $1 million lottery. Nobody wants to hear it. This is the most iconic gangster film ever made. On number 2, Goodfellas in 1990.
We ran everything. We paid off cops, we paid off lawyers, we paid off judges. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. And now it's all over.
Goodfellas is a film that I've watched nearly a dozen times and have found a new way to appreciate it every time. By the end of the film, Scorsese does away with the glamorized view of gangsters and cripples his protagonist to one thing that every gangster hates, a rat. And on number 1, The Godfather Part 2 in 1974.
If anything in this life is certain, if history's taught us anything, it says you can kill anyone.
No shot in the film history has sobered me more than that of Pacino's Michael Corleone, first over the face, pondering the choices that have led him to this moment. The camera zooms towards him, and all we hear is silence. Michael's eyes gaze into oblivion. Then the unforgettable music swells, and the tragedy of both Godfather films wash you over like a monsoon. Loyalty is a two-way street, so you guys better start showing some by subscribing to us, or shall we ask Martin Scorsese to teach you that?